Have you ever stopped to question the one absolute certainty in human existence? From the moment we are born, we are programmed by society, by our families, and by our institutions to believe in a single, unavoidable fate. That we will age, our physical bodies will eventually fail us, and we will inevitably die. We buy insurance to prepare for our burial. We count our years with birthdays that merely celebrate the degradation of our bodies, and we spend our lives rushing against an invisible clock, utterly terrified of the end. But what if death is nothing more than a massive collective illusion? What if the aging process is not a biological necessity, but a psychological program that you have the power to turn off right now? Today, we are exploring a paradigm-shattering philosophy that completely rewrites the rules of human biology, reality, and the afterlife. These are the teachings of Ramtha, an entity who claims to have lived on this planet 35,000 years ago as a Lemurian warrior in the slums of an ancient Atlantean world. Ramtha didn't die. Instead, through intense observation of the natural world, particularly the wind, which he admired for its absolute freedom and formlessness, he learned to master his own mind. One evening, he suddenly found himself floating high above his physical body, looking down at his own physical form on the rock. Though fear instantly snapped him back into his flesh, he knew the experience was real. 2 years later, he achieved it again, learning to leave his body and travel anywhere instantly using only the power of thought. But Ramtha didn't stop at astral projection. He realized that whatever a human contemplates with enough intensity, they will eventually become. He began to alter the actual vibratory frequency of his cellular structure. By holding the pure, unlimited thought of the wind, his body became lighter and began to emanate a glowing aura. Over time, he learned how to raise the vibratory frequency of his physical body so high that it transformed into pure light, which he then carried with him into eternity. He conquered the ultimate human fear, and he returns to teach us that we too hold the exact same power to ascend. To understand how to defeat death and what truly happens when the body fails, we must first completely redefine what you are. You are not a fragile, temporary biological accident. You are an immortal, creative God. Millions of years ago, you existed as a being of pure light, a direct expansion of the mind of God. You and your fellow light beings created the physical universe, condensing light into electromagnetism, and then into dense matter to form the stars, planets, and nature. But as a being of high-frequency light, you could not physically interact with the beautiful, dense world you had created. You could flow through a tree like the wind, but you could not feel its bark or smell its flowers. So, to experience the material world, to touch, taste, and deeply feel, you designed a brilliant vehicle, the human body. This body was never meant to be a prison, and it was certainly never designed to die after a few short decades. According to Ramtha, the human body was originally programmed to live for hundreds or even thousands of years, maintained by a complex network of endocrine glands, not internal organs. It was designed to never age. But over millions of years of reincarnating into this dense plane, we fell in love with the physical world and became trapped in the primal, survival-based instincts of the flesh. We forgot that we were the immortal drivers of the vehicle, and we began to identify solely as the vehicle itself. Because we identified as vulnerable flesh, we became consumed by the fear of death, and whatever we expect and believe to be true becomes our biological reality. Today, human beings die simply because they believe they have to. Your soul, which sits near your heart, acts as the master commander of your physical form, dictating the release of hormones based on your attitudes and thoughts. Because you live in a society that expects physical degradation, your soul eventually stops the production of life-sustaining hormones and activates the death hormone. You begin to age and die out of guilt, self-judgment, and the absolute expectation of your own demise. So what actually happens when we cross that threshold? What occurs when the body finally gives out? First, you must understand that the personality, the I that makes you unique, can never be destroyed. You can mutilate the physical body, but you cannot destroy the invisible essence of thought and emotion that lives within it. Death is a great illusion, because no creation can ever truly be eradicated. Only the costume dies. When the physical body can no longer function, the spirit withdraws its energy, and the soul is released from its niche near the heart. The process of passing over is entirely painless. It is much like falling asleep. As the soul, which contains all your memories and emotions, leaves the cellular mass, it exits through the seventh seal, the pituitary gland located in the center of the head. For many, this departure is experienced as traveling rapidly through a dark tunnel, accompanied by the profound sound of rushing wind, moving toward a brilliant, shining light. That light at the end of the tunnel is not a distant deity coming to judge you. It is the radiant light of your own true being. In that moment of separation, all pain, hunger, fear, and the illusion of time completely vanish. You find yourself in the cradle of God, free from the heavy density of physical matter. In an instant, you transition back into your true form, a magnificent body of pure light. But where do you go from there? For centuries, religions have used the terror of hell and the promise of heaven to control the masses. Ramtha explicitly dismantles this fear. He states that he searched the deepest depths of the universe and the furthest edges of creation, and he found no lake of fire, no devil, and no place of eternal torment. He found hell only in the dark hearts of the men who invented it. The word hell historically referred to shallow, open graves in ancient Judea, where the poor were buried and scavenged by wild dogs. A literal place twisted by priests into a metaphorical dimension of terror. God is the entirety of life. God is unconditional love. If God, who is everything, created a place of eternal damnation to punish his own creations, it would act as a cancer within his own body that would ultimately destroy him. Therefore, there is no ultimate judgment waiting for you. God doesn't judge you. The Supreme Intelligence has no ego that divides existence into good and bad. You are the only one who has ever judged your life. Instead of a singular heaven or hell, Ramtha reveals that there are 7 heavens. These heavens are not physical places with pearly gates, but distinct vibratory dimensions of consciousness. When you leave your physical body, the magnetic field of your aura will automatically draw you to the specific heaven that perfectly matches the collective emotional attitudes and understanding you held during your life. Let us deeply explore these 7 realms of existence, for they dictate the journey of the soul. The first heaven is the very plane you exist on right now, the plane of demonstration. It is the dimension of 3-dimensional perception, a realm of dense matter. It is the only level where beings can witness their creative power manifested in solid, physical form. However, it is also the only level plagued by darkness and social amnesia, where masters are born only to fall under the hypnotic spell of societal programming. Fascinatingly, the first heaven is also home to a tragic realm in the invisible light dimension. Here, you will not find mountains, rivers, or skies. Instead, you will find endless, infinite rows of billions of light beings lying completely dormant, asleep in the illusion that they are dead. These are souls who, during their physical lives, staunchly believed that life ended at the grave, or they accepted dogmatic teachings that they must lie in wait for a Messiah to resurrect them. Because our beliefs shape our absolute reality, their sheer conviction that they are dead keeps them paralyzed. They wait for a savior, terrified that any voice trying to wake them is a devil tempting them. They may sleep for thousands of years before they finally realize they are alive. This is the only truly painful place in existence. A self-imposed purgatory built entirely of rigid, fearful beliefs. If a soul moves beyond the first level, they may gravitate to the second heaven. This is the realm for beings who are deeply entrenched in experiencing and understanding pain, remorse, and overwhelming guilt. It is a level of consciousness where the soul processes the heavy emotional burdens it could not resolve in the physical world. The third heaven is the level of power. Souls who are drawn to this dimension spent their physical lives seeking to control, manipulate, and enslave others. Interestingly, this is not about physical force, but the power of the mind, the intense desire to force everyone to conform to their specific point of view and surrender their free will. The fourth heaven is the level of unexpressed love. This dimension is populated by beautiful souls who loved deeply and profoundly during their earthly lives, but for whatever reason, fear, societal constraints, or emotional blockages, they were unable to communicate or express that love to others. They live in a frequency of love that remains painfully locked within. But for those who mastered the ability to truly express their love in words and actions, they ascend to the fifth heaven, known as paradise. Paradise is a realm of unimaginable, breathtaking magic. There is no night here. Instead, the entire dimension is bathed in a radiant, golden light. This light is so potent that it creates a harmonious, beautiful music simply by vibrating. In paradise, beings don't breathe air. They breathe the very sound and music of the golden light. On this fifth level, your thoughts manifest into reality instantaneously. There is no delay, no dense matter to slow down creation. If a fisherman desires to sit by a tranquil lake, he simply imagines it, and the lake appears. If he wants the lake surrounded by tall poplars and cinnamon-colored cypress trees, they materialize instantly. If he wants a cool breeze to ripple the water, the wind blows at his command. He can catch his favorite fish, take it to the magnificent home he just manifested, and experience absolute bliss. Millions of souls spend billions of years in paradise because they simply cannot conceive of a place more perfect. Yet eventually, even in the absolute perfection of paradise, a soul might begin to wonder if there is something more. They might begin to question the source of the golden light and the music that surrounds them. When a soul begins to see that nothing exists in isolation and recognizes the divine equality and unity in all things, from the golden light to the cinnamon cypresses, they transition to the sixth heaven. The sixth heaven is nearly impossible to describe with human words. It is a dimension where you are entirely unique, yet simultaneously in absolute, undivided unity with all of existence. It is the gateway to the ultimate realization. Finally, there is the seventh heaven. The seventh heaven is God. Imagine a core of brilliance so profound that its color surpasses the concept of light, existing in a state of pure, pulsating emission. As this core rises on a wave of its own magnificence, It emanates a spectacular pageant of thought. In the seventh heaven, you are the one reaching out from that core. You become the pure mind, the pure light, the indestructible substance that nourishes, feeds, and expands all of consciousness. You become the pure joy and the absolute origin of all things. With all these magnificent heavens waiting, why do souls continuously return to the dense, difficult plane of demonstration on Earth? Why do we reincarnate? Religions and New Age philosophies often teach the concept of karma, the idea that we must return to Earth to pay off debts from past lives, to balance the scales for the wrongs we have committed. Ramtha explicitly states that karma is not a divine law. It is a massive illusion. Karma only exists for those who believe in it. If you die carrying the heavy burden of guilt, believing you are a sinner who must pay for past mistakes, your own soul will demand that you reincarnate to fulfill the laws of balance that you created in your own mind. You become a prisoner of your own limited thinking, endlessly paying debts that God never asked you to pay. In the truth of God, there is no ledger, no judgment, and no punishment. Every action you have ever taken, whether deemed saintly or horrific, was done simply to gain emotional understanding and wisdom. You don't return to Earth because you are forced to. You return because you choose to. You return because you want to feel the rich, turbulent, heartbreaking, and joyous emotions of physical existence. You come back to gather wisdom. You return because you left behind loved ones and wish to reconnect with their genetic lineages. You return because you are an adventurer of thought, seeking to understand every facet of human experience. To illustrate this profound truth of free will and reincarnation, Ramtha shares the true story of a master who lived in the fifth heaven, paradise. This master had manifested everything he could ever desire: the perfect home, boundless peace, and all his favorite experiences. Yet he felt a lingering emptiness. He called out to the universe asking, "I have all these wonders, but where is God?" A radiant being of light appeared and showed the master a vision of his past earthly life in a mystical pond. The master saw that he had been a good, successful, and respected man who provided well for his family. He proudly declared, "I was a success." But the being of light gently corrected him. "You were a success in giving things to others," the being explained. "But you never truly loved yourself, and you never saw the face of God in everything around you." The man realized that to truly see God, he had to become God. And to do that, he needed to return to the physical world to master the ultimate lesson of self-love and seeing God in all of life. Looking into the pond, the master saw his earthly son, who was now a grown man expecting a child. Driven by a desire to know God and a deep love for his family, the master made a staggering choice. He chose to leave the absolute perfection of paradise and reincarnate into the womb of his own daughter-in-law. He returned to Earth as his own grandson. That master, who voluntarily left heaven to master self-love and recognize the divinity within the dense physical world, grew up to be the man history knows as the Buddha. This is the beautiful truth of your existence. You are not a victim of a cosmic wheel of suffering. You are not forced to return to Earth by some cosmic judge. Every life is a choice. You will continue to return, life after life, until you have gathered all the emotional pearls of wisdom this plane has to offer. Until you learn to love yourself completely, and until you finally remember that you are the creator of the dream. But what if you are tired of the cycle? What if you wish to end the endless loop of birth and death? The alternative to death and reincarnation is ascension. Ascension is the realization that you don't have to let your body die. Because you are the supreme architect of your reality, your physical body will do exactly what you command it to do. The secret to immortality is right inside your head. You just have to learn how to use the equipment. Right now, you are using only 1/3 of your brain. The rest lies dormant, waiting to be activated. We only use a fraction of our brain because we only allow a fraction of thoughts into our consciousness. Your body is surrounded by a brilliant electromagnetic light field called the aura, or the spirit, which is directly connected to the infinite river of thought, the mind of God. Every thought that has ever existed is available to you in this river. However, the left hemisphere of your brain is controlled by the alter ego, the survival-driven, analytical part of your mind that functions based on societal programming. The alter ego acts as a filter, rejecting any high-frequency, unlimited thoughts that don't fit into the safe, boring, and fearful box of human logic. Therefore, your brain only receives low-frequency thoughts about money, survival, judgment, disease, and aging. The alter ego is what ancient texts metaphorically called the Antichrist, because it denies the unlimited, immortal God within you. If you constantly think about aging, weakness, and fear, your brain sends low-frequency, sluggish electrical currents to your cells, quite literally commanding them to degrade and die. However, when you dare to bypass the alter ego and entertain the unlimited thought that you are God, a profound biological miracle occurs. This unlimited thought enters your brain and is converted into a high-voltage electrical current by your pituitary gland, the seventh seal. As you entertain the absolute knowingness of your immortality, the pituitary gland begins to swell and physically bloom like a magnificent flower. It releases a flood of new hormones to the pineal gland, which then sends blazing, high-frequency electrical currents down your central nervous system to every cell in your body. This high-frequency electricity ignites your cellular structure, filling you with an indescribable ecstasy, a feeling of pure genius and unbridled joy. If you were to activate your entire brain, the high-frequency electrical currents would be so powerful that your body could instantly heal itself from any disease. You could regenerate lost limbs, and, if you held the thought long enough, you could command the cellular structure of your body to speed up its vibration until it surpassed the frequency of dense matter, bursting into a flash of pure, invisible light. This is Ascension. It is taking your physical body with you into the next dimension, bypassing the illusion of death completely. You could take your body with you into eternity, just as Ramtha did. To begin this journey, you must radically shift your attitude toward time and aging. You must eliminate the word old age from your vocabulary and replace it with eternity. The illusion of death only has power over you because you celebrate it. Stop celebrating your birthdays. Every time you count a year, you are programming your cellular structure with the expectation of decay. You must speak to your soul, the master of your body, and command it to restore the enzymes of youth. Above all, you must learn to live exclusively in the eternal now. The past is a ghost. It only exists as the wisdom you gained from it. The future is forged by your thoughts today. Therefore, the only place where God exists, the only place where true power resides, is in this exact present moment. When you stop censoring your thoughts out of fear of what society will think, you open the floodgates of your dormant brain. When you declare, "I am God," and allow the unlimited thoughts of the universe to flow through your seventh seal, your body will begin to vibrate at a higher frequency. You will stop aging. You will heal. And if you master this focus completely, you will achieve the ultimate victory, taking your body with you into the light, just as Ramtha did. When you free yourself from the heavy chains of guilt, when you stop judging yourself and others, and when you love the magnificent being that you are, you align yourself with the ultimate frequency of the universe, joy. Joy is the highest state of being. In a state of pure joy, it is impossible to hate, impossible to fear, and impossible to age. You are not here to fulfill some rigid, predetermined cosmic destiny. You didn't come here to save the world, nor are you being tested by a wrathful judge. Your only true purpose is simply to live. You are here to experience the thrill of the physical realm, to turn the unknown into the known, and to play in the sandbox of matter. So take off the heavy armor of your societal programming. Step out of the shadows of fear and religious dogma. Claim your sovereign power and declare, "I know I am God," and watch as the physical world bends to accommodate your realization. You are not a victim of biology. You are the master of eternity. You are the wind, the stars, the golden light of paradise, and the silent void of space, temporarily wearing a costume of flesh and bone. It is time to wake up, command your immortality, and step into the boundless, eternal continuum of your own divine glory. For whenever you contemplate the boundless freedom of life, simply look to the wind and know that you are finally looking at yourself. That's all for today's video. Subscribe, like, and share if you are ready to claim your divine power. Thank you very much for watching until the end. See you soon.